Hello, this is KiwaniTalk. KiwaniTalk is a public information program brought to you from the facilities of WDHS at Dearborn High School by members of the Kiwanis Club, Dearborn Kiwanis Club, and students that help us in recording the shows. We're very pleased tonight to have as our guest Preston Abadie, who is the Lieutenant Governor of District 5, Division 5, I'm sorry, right. Division 5, Kiwanis Club Division 5. And then we have Amanda, and you know, Amanda, I didn't get your last name down.
That's okay, Amanda Pratt.
Amanda Pratt.
Yes.
I should have written it down here and then I'd have had it right, but I apologize for that. But what we're going to start out with is, Preston, I'd like to have you give us a little background of what got you into Kiwanis and then what got you up to this position as Lieutenant Governor of Division 5.
Okay, well, I've been in Kiwanis for about 10 years. My wife and I joined at the same time, and it was a happy accident for us because we got a Goodfellows paper, and there was a blurb in there about joining a service organization, and they met on Wednesday nights at 6:30. So we went there, but the ad wasn't supposed to be in the paper at all. The Goodfellows forgot to take it out. So we just happened to be there and get the newspaper, and it was happy for us, and that's the happy accident I refer to. And it's been full speed ahead ever since for me. So being in 2 different clubs in the Downriver area, we have clubs in Woodhaven, Allen Park, Wyandotte, Greater Gibraltar, Southgate, Riverview, and Downriver West, which services Brownstown and Flat Rock. And it's just been a happy ride for both of us, and especially for me, because I like to be involved with what's going on with the kids especially. And you know as well as I do with Kiwanis that it is all about the kids. So anything we can do for the kids to make their lives better, engage them in stuff with the community, the better off we're all going to be.
Get them interested, get them thinking about being service-minded themselves.
Correct.
And they really jump at the opportunity, a lot of them, the young people too. Okay, I'm going to come over then to Amanda. And Amanda, I'd like you to give us a little of your background, and
Sure.
I want you to talk a little bit about your college degree and what was your specialty and major and so on.
Okay, I'm a high school teacher at Woodhaven High School. I earned my bachelor's degree from University of Michigan, Dearborn. My major is biology. I have a minor in chemistry and psychology, which I love so much, all of it. I went back to school to get my master's in teaching, and I was a substitute teacher for years, and then I've been teaching for the past 11 years at Woodhaven High School.
Okay, I was a physics major, so I took
Oh,
plenty
you
of
were?
chemistry.
Oh, yes.
I didn't take much biology, but I
Physics
did
is
have
a tough
biology
one.
in high school. But,
Yeah.
but I took quite a bit of chemistry,
Yes,
because
yeah.
physics major, in fact, the school I went to, they decided that the physics majors had to take the chemistry first.
Oh.
So all your freshman year, you had these long chemistry courses
Yeah.
with long labs and
Yep.
so on. So now, you've had an interesting idea that you thought would be very stimulating to your students. And this must be an area that you have considerable interest on your own, is that right?
Yes, I love biology. I taught physics for a few years. That was tough. And then I was teaching chemistry, and I've been lucky to teach biology for the past few years since it's my major. And you know, with all the stuff that we see on TV nowadays with Ancestry.com, 23andMe, with the general population having a basic understanding about DNA, I really think that students should really understand the process behind what these companies do, and I was excited to share it with my students. I'm really passionate about it. So,
well, you know, something about passionate teachers has a way of getting the students wound up too.
I think so. I hope so, at least. I hope so.
It certainly will, because you know, to them, this is something that 10 or 15 years ago, you couldn't have done anything with this because the equipment hadn't been developed yet. You know?
No, when I was in college, having access to this piece of equipment was unheard of. And my college professors, we heard about it, but I was never able to do it myself. So I'm really excited.
Okay. And But you approached the Kiwanis Club because this isn't something there was funding available for. Is that right?
No, it's expensive, and I really felt passionate about it. It was in summer, and so I did a little bit of research for, are there grants available? Is there funding? It's summertime. I don't have access to anybody, and every place that I was searching, I kept seeing the hashtag "Kids need Kiwanis." Kids need Kiwanis. Like, well, I think my kids need Kiwanis? So I approached Preston's organization, Downriver West, and we went from there. I reached out to him.
Did he get you out to a meeting? Or
He did. I was excited.
You had to give your spiel at the meeting,
I
did
did.
you not?
I was so nervous, but so excited, and I met so many nice people. It was one of the most exciting things that I've done in my career, I think. I mean, it was.
Now let's go over to Preston a little bit,
Yeah.
and let's get his side of that
Yes.
interaction for a minute. And go ahead, Preston.
So it's very tough for Kiwanis members to say no to anybody when they ask for help, right? I think it's part of our DNA. And when I got the request from Amanda about, do you guys do grants for school equipment and things like that? I said, well, it's not that we have a designated program for it, but if you come in and talk to us and give us a program about what you're looking for, then we'll make a decision. And she happily accepted, and she came down, I think it was a few weeks before we could get you into the schedule. Yeah. And we had a really good turnout that night because people wanted to know, well, what does the high school want with us? What are they looking for? And when I said DNA and stuff like that, it gets people's interest up because it's at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So Amanda came in and she was a little nervous. She had a couple of questions about things. What do I need to do? She did a really knockout job of giving us a presentation and essentially selling us on the value of this. I just call it a DNA machine because if I say Mini 1 PCR, people are going to say, what are you talking about? But DNA machine, they get the idea. Yeah. So it brings this criminal CSI mind it gives you this imagination about that, and you're thinking, hey, wait a minute, this is forensics at its best.
So this is the same kind of equipment that they use to identify or to prove that individuals left their DNA
It's the
where
first
crimes
step.
were committed.
Yes, the
Is that
first
right?
step of it, correct.
The first step of it.
Yes,
okay.
it is.
Okay, and but is that the way you're using it, or is it to expose them to the idea? It's the students are getting the idea how complicated DNA is in the first place.
Well, hopefully that they can understand it, certainly. Yeah. The lab technique behind it, the fact that they can use their own DNA
Sure.
and make millions of copies in this very little machine is crazy. And I think really exciting. And then from it, analyze their own DNA and what traits that they know that they have.
And isn't what some of these companies do? They analyze your DNA and they say where your ancestry came from and all that sort of thing.
They do.
So, yeah, and a lot of us know where our ancestors came from, maybe going back 3 or 4 generations, but before that it gets pretty foggy.
Yes, it does.
Because there's a whole lot more of them.
That's
for one
true.
thing.
And there's a
it
lot
doubles every.
Yes.
And so now you've had your first classes. Okay.
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
And I don't imagine they're into doing too much just yet. They have some learning to do
Yes,
first.
they do. Yes.
Okay. But how have they reacted to this?
Social media is such a blessing. I know it can be a curse sometimes, but it certainly in my case has been a blessing. They've seen on Twitter, on Facebook, Downriver West has posted about the machine, I've posted about it, and they're like, what is this DNA machine? When do we get to do it? Can we see it? Oh, it looks cool. I'm like, we'll get to do it soon. So we won't be using it till after Christmas time.
Okay.
So.
Well, they have some. You have some basics you have to learn before you can touch the machine.
That's true. That's true. Yes.
And the people with the better grades, they may get a chance to use it a little more than
That's
the ones
true.
that aren't doing so well.
I'll just be sitting close to those ones. So that's all.
No, I know. Okay, so we kind of said, how did you arrive at this? This is your question. how did you arrive at the decision to ask Kiwanis? So you've told us that. And what actually did you know about Kiwanis before you asked?
Oh
for help?
gosh, I've known about Kiwanis since I was little. We have a park by my house that I grew up in Southgate. And I knew about Kiwanis, the Key Club, when I was in high school, student leaders, with service. So I've always known about it. And like I said, when I started, now as a teacher, kind of poking around on the internet, that's when I really saw all the wonderful things that they do for kids in the community.
The one thing about Kiwanis is it's a social organization, and the social part is really what holds the club together. But it's a social organization that's raising money to very often is to help young people.
Yeah.
Okay, not exclusively, but most of the time, and it makes it really grows on you, doesn't it, Preston? After a while.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have a full-time job, but then I also have Kiwanis, and that's something that, to me, it puts a smile on my face every day thinking about the things that we're able to do. And it's not about the recognition, it's about you see the rewards for the things that you've done in the face of the children that you're serving.
That's right.
So.
And now, as Lieutenant Governor of your division, you have to interact. One of your jobs is to interact with each club in the division periodically. It's to kind of get some unity and to pass ideas back and forth between one organization and another. And sometimes it's meetings where more than one club is meeting with others.
Yes.
And that gives you extra commitment.
It does. It gives you extra commitment, but it also gives you a lot of things to learn. Yeah. And I think it helps you stay sharp. You hear from other people, other clubs, and you also hear what other clubs are doing. And you can take the things that this club is doing and share them with other clubs. And you can at least add to the viability of that club and then the long-term success of it as well. Now
tell me, your club decided that you would assist Amanda in getting this equipment. Tell us a little bit about how that went.
So normally a lot of Kiwanis clubs will actually use a dictionary project or sponsor a dictionary project and buy dictionaries for certain grades, students in certain grades. And we do that, but this year we decided, once we heard from Amanda, we said, well, we still have dictionaries left, but we also have funding left. And we decided that we would actually work with Amanda. We decided this both, through ESP, believe it or not. That look was in our face after she presented to us that this is what we needed to do. And it was, without a doubt, there was no hesitation whatsoever. We had committed as soon as she walked out the door.
Well, you had to get going because the summer's not that long.
No.
And to get the equipment there, you had to place an order, and I'm not sure those are things they just ship out willy-nilly. You probably have to order a little bit ahead of time before it's available. Now, is the equipment actually on hand, or is it?
It is,
oh,
yes.
It is on
it's
hand.
in my classroom, yes.
Are you reading all the instructions
yes,
over
I have,
and
yes.
over and over?
Yes, I'm going to be doing it with my own DNA before I let the students get their hands on it.
Okay, that's really interesting. Well, we have to take a little break here shortly, and after we come back, I want to see if you can tell us a little bit more about what you've learned about the machine.
Sure.
And how you go ahead making a DNA sample and putting it in the machine and all that sort of thing. Sure. And then we can anticipate how you're going to bring the students up to speed so that they can do this.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to take a break now for a little commercial about Kiwanis. So join us again after the break.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Hello, we're back here at KiwaniTalk with Preston Abadie and Amanda Pratt, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this machine that analyzes DNA.
Yes.
Amanda, you've at least read through some of the directions and so on?
I have, yes.
And you say, we said in the break that you were going to learn how to do this before you showed the kids how to do this.
Absolutely, I need to practice first.
So can you give us a little outline of how the machine works,
Sure.
as you understand it, and
Yes.
how samples are taken and analyzed?
Absolutely. Everybody has DNA in all of their cells. So when students, or me, when I practice run with the machine, take a swab of the inside of the cheek, in the saliva there's going to be cheek cells. And what students will do is put it in a little sample container, and with chemicals that come with the kit, you put it inside the machine, and the machine and the chemicals are able to amplify the DNA. And the machine is able to make millions of copies of a DNA sample, which is a crazy amount.
Now, it makes millions of copies of the same.
Correct, because the DNA molecule on its own is very small. Although in the molecule world, it's a big molecule, it's still very small. You can't see it with your naked eye, you can't see it under a microscope. So for geneticists, for biologists to be able to analyze the DNA, it has to be copied millions of times. So there's enough of it to be able to analyze.
I see, okay.
Yes.
So you're actually reproducing the DNA cell.
Yes, yes, and it'll be identical. So it's a crazy thought that students can take their own DNA and duplicate it outside of their body. It's quite a process.
Okay, and is this is, you have to have, when you take the DNA and put it in the machine, it has to have a certain chemical environment to do that,
Yes,
I
it
guess.
does, and the machine provides that.
And can you describe that, not in just sort of lay terms, what kind of an environment is that?
The machine is able to run a certain length of time between -4 and 100 degrees Celsius. So the stability with the chemicals, it also agitates or shakes a little bit. So just it's the perfect environment for copying cells and DNA specifically.
Okay. Now, this machine doesn't do, does the machine, can you analyze the DNA further with the machine, or is that a different process?
That is the second step.
That's the second step.
Yes, where they will collect the DNA, put it into a different machine, and the second machine breaks the DNA up. And from there, they can analyze and compare the traits that they have between one another.
Yeah. Do you have both these machines?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
so
I
it's
do.
actually two machines, is
Correct,
what you're saying.
it is, yes.
It's a system.
Yes, it is.
Now, how does the machine that does the analysis, what do you get? What kind of a readout do you get in this analysis?
Well, they have to take measurements. So everybody's DNA, once it's copied and it's copied and then broken apart, in the second machine, it's able to travel a certain distance. Students are able to measure the distance. They have to do a little bit of calculations.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, a little bit of physics, a little bit of physics in there. And then from that, they can see and compare with one another.
I see.
Yeah.
And these, And these readings, when they put them down, I mean, there's so many combinations. I mean, how many?
Yes.
I don't know what the number is. Somebody's probably calculated the number. How many?
Yes.
But it's more than there are people.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
And but these traits are ones that relate to what's.
So we use basic genetics,
Yeah.
basic traits. So one of the first traits that we're going to study is taste. Some of us have a bitter taste bud in a sense,
Okay.
and some of us do not. So one of the things that the DNA will tell us, based on the first activity of can you taste the piece of paper that tastes bitter, the second DNA analysis will verify what they already know.
Okay.
So something that they can observe and then verify with the DNA.
Well, I can see something that's got to happen later in the year. You know, maybe in March or April or so, after some of these kids have really gotten into this.
Yes,
A couple of them are going to have to go to a Kiwanis meeting.
I think so. I think
And
so.
they're going to have to, say thank you for the machine, and here's what we've learned, and here's what we can do.
I
Isn't
hope
that
they
right?
do. I hope they do. Make me
Well-
proud, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, they'll want to.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure it may not be every student in the class, but there'll be some that they get excited about it.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's the way it is with people in general.
Something
So-
we've all heard of. So even students who maybe don't have an inclination towards science, they've all heard of DNA. They all have traits. So it's something very relatable for the higher students to students who maybe don't act like they're interested. I feel they will be when it comes to this activity.
Well, some of the students that are not maybe so tremendously academic, sometimes they're pretty handy and pretty good with their hands, and
That's
they
true.
have a lot of, we call it horse sense. You know?
Yes, yes.
And you might find one of them's the sharpest one at running the machine or something
absolutely.
like that. And it's always nice if you can stimulate a young person that maybe he or she didn't do so well before, but this,
Yes.
interests them.
Absolutely.
So do you see that as a possibility, Preston, sometime next spring?
Absolutely, we're actually looking forward to it. We would probably invite them all to to a Kiwanis meeting so they can share with us, because we'd like to hear what is it you learned. What's the reward for you in being able to experience this. That was part of the reason why when Amanda came to us, and we had no doubt about wanting to do this because the way it engages kids. Today, kids can be engaged with an electronic device or buried in it. They could be buried in a book as well. But to give them an opportunity to participate and engage in furthering their education is something that I think speaks volumes for what we want to accomplish as a Kiwanis Club or as a teacher. That's a teacher's, I'll say, dream come true, is the kids are all engaged in the activity that she's trying to teach.
And these things with the schools, they're a little bit, the gift has to go to the school because it has to stay at the school, and that sort of thing. But it's like a lot of the equipment in this room is the same way. But it was, the funds were raised and it was made as a gift to the school.
Yes.
And then of course you got to write a letter to the schools because they have to accept it, and so on. And that's extra work for a teacher. I mean, you normally don't have to go through it. I mean, you're the school representative. It's also maybe the letter has to come from the Kiwanis Club, but whatever. I know because we've been through this kind of thing with some of our gifts, So, and you put some questions in here, and I don't think I can. What made you decide that the polymer E's chain reaction and DNA were suitable subject matter? Well, we've really talked about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And why don't you embellish a little bit this? What do you think the students will learn by using the machine?
Oh my goodness. Well, just critical thinking skills, being engaged, enjoying themselves in my classroom. As a teacher, we teach so much about, it's all about the test. But in life, everything just isn't always about the test.
That's right.
So if they learn and enjoy themselves, in my book, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And so that's really what, the science aside, even though it is all about the science, it's all about them really having a really good experience in my class.
And students can be graded on participation in
Yes.
an activity like this.
Absolutely.
A student that maybe is not the best test taker, but they're really good at taking the sample and making the machine work
That's
and everything
right.
like that.
Yes.
That's worth a grade too.
I think so.
I mean, that's what most jobs involve actually doing
Mm-hmm.
something. And once you get out of school, you're not often doing derivations anymore.
No,
Or
thank
that sort of
goodness.
thing. Thank goodness.
Yes,
is
thank
right.
goodness.
Yeah, but so, and you call it a Mini 1 PCR. That's just the name of the device.
The Mini One is the company, and it's
Oh.
called a PCR machine, a polymerase chain reaction.
Okay,
so it's a
that's-
series.
okay.
Yep.
I didn't connect it, but I see it here
Yes.
now. Yeah. Okay, and how do you see this? How do you see using this in the future? Now you're going to learn how to use it this year.
Yes, I
But
have
you
to.
probably will learn some tricks that you wouldn't be obvious initially.
No. So every teaching's trial and error.
Yeah,
You get
sure.
better and better every year, hopefully. And I'm really fortunate to work with 5 other biology teachers. So I'm really excited to collaborate with them, and I've already told them about the machine and share it with them. So not just my students will be able to utilize it, but also the other classes as well, which is exciting.
Yeah. Well, we're down to about our last 2 minutes here, and this has been an interesting experience for you,
Yes, it has.
and also for the Kiwanis Club.
Yes,
Now,
it has been.
Do you see this as something that you could do again with maybe a related project?
Absolutely. Kiwanis internationally is embracing the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, for kids, because we recognize that our future is dependent on more kids getting into those areas of study and excelling at that.
Yeah.
So absolutely, we would help.
Yeah, and especially encouraging young women, because sometimes young women are a little bit intimidated about the science side of things. And something like this could maybe open them up a little bit to it.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and so we're just down to a minute. What do you see in the future? Do you see this as something that could really be expanded in school?
Oh, absolutely. Like Preston was saying, biotechnology is on the rise, and I think it's something that not just at school, maybe at home, that we all have access to, understanding more about our genetics.
Yeah, and also just the idea that you're working with equipment like this is so many jobs are associated with that anymore.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, it's great to have you on the show, Preston
Thank you.
Abadie and Amanda Pratt.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
it's a very interesting program, and we wish you the best working with those kids.
Thank you.
Join us on KiwaniTalk again soon.